Hello friends, welcome back to a new video, that is MCQs on cell biology. Okay, and this is the first part of this series of videos on cell biology. So the first question of this video, that is question number 1, that is you have homogenized plant tissue and would like to separate chloroplast from nuclei. So which of the following method would be most suitable for this separation of chloroplast from nuclei? So the options are option A, polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis, or option B, differential centrifugation using sucrose gradient, or option C, equilibrium density gradient centrifugation on cesium chloride gradient, or option D, gel filtration. So the right answer about this separation is option B, that is differential centrifugation using sucrose gradient. So to separate chloroplast from nuclei in plant tissue, we have to the best suitable method is differential centrifugation using sucrose gradient. Okay, so let's move on to the question number 2. In biological membrane, integral proteins and lipids interact mainly by option A, covalent bond, option B, hydrogen bond, option C, hydrophobic interactions, or option D, van der Waals force. And the right answer is option C, that is hydrophobic interactions. So in biological membrane, integral proteins and lipids interact mainly by hydrophobic interactions. Okay, so let's move on to next question, that is question number 3. So in the fluid mosaic model of the membrane, option A, the protein is arranged in layers, option B, the lipid has no specific arrangement, or option C, the lipid is fluid and arranged in a bilayer with functional protein embedded in them, or option D, lipids and proteins are not arranged in any particular order. So the right answer about the fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane is option C, that is the lipid is fluid and arranged in a bilayer with functional protein embedded in them. Okay, so next question देखेंगे. Next is question number 4. So according to Robertson's unit membrane model of plasma membrane, option A, proteins on cytoplasmic and non-cytoplasmic side are same, or option B, all proteins are transmembrane proteins, or option C, there is no space between lipid bilayers, or option D, that is none. So the right answer about the Robertson's unique membrane model of plasma membrane is option C, that is there is no space between lipid bilayers. Okay, so according to Robertson's unique membrane model of plasma membrane, there is no space between lipid bilayers. So next question देखेंगे. Next is question number 5, that is what property of biomembranes is responsible for their self-sealing nature? And options are option A, hydrophilicity of the phospholipid head groups, or option B, presence of protein in biomembranes, or option C, presence of cholesterol in biomembranes, or option D, hydrophobicity of the fatty acid side chains of phospholipids. And the right answer is option D, that is hydrophobicity of the fatty acid side chains of phospholipids. So what property of biomembrane is responsible for their self-sealing nature? That is hydrophobicity of the fatty acid chains of phospholipid. Okay, so next question देखेंगे. Next is which of the following criteria can be used to distinguish between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells? And the options are option A, whether or not they have plasma membrane, or option B, whether or not they have a nucleus, that is membrane enclosed nucleoplasm, or option C, comparison of the sequences of homologous proteins, or option D, that is comparison of the signature sequence of 16S rRNA. So the right answer is option B, that is whether or not they have a nucleus, that is membrane bound nucleoplasm. So that is the main difference, distinguishing difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Okay, so let's move on to the question number 7, that is which of the following statement is not correct, and the options are: option A, cytoskeleton is present in eukaryotic cells and absent in prokaryotic cells; option B, streaming, endocytosis and exocytosis occurs only in eukaryotic cells; option C, circular DNA in cytosol occurs only in prokaryotic cells; or option D, first eukaryotic cells on earth born more than 3 billion years ago. So which statement is not correct? And the right one is option D, that is option D is not a correct option or correct statement. So first eukaryotic cell on earth born more than 3 billion years ago, this is a wrong statement. Okay, so let's move on to the question number 8, that is which one of the following arrangement of the metal ions, that are the Na plus, K plus, Mg2 plus and calcium 2 plus, in the order of decreasing concentration is correct with respect to a quiescent mammalian cells? And the options are: option A, K plus, Na plus, Mg2 plus and calcium 2 plus; or option B, Na plus, K plus, Mg2 plus, calcium 2 plus; or magnesium, option C, magnesium 2 plus, K plus, Na plus or calcium 2 plus; or option D, calcium 2 plus, Mg2 plus, K plus or Na plus. So the right order, decreasing order, is option A, that is K plus, Na plus, Mg2 plus and calcium 2 plus. So among this arrangement of the metal ions, that are the Na plus, K plus, Mg2 plus and Ca2 plus, in the order of decreasing concentration is the correct correct with respect to a quiescent mammalian cell is K plus, Na plus, Mg2 plus and calcium 2 plus. Okay, so let's move on to the question number 9, that is lipid that are found in biological membranes are: option A, are amphipathic; option B, are commonly referred to as triacyl glycerols; option C, contain only unsaturated fatty acyl chains; or option D, are normally covalently associated with proteins. And the right one is option A, that is are amphipathic. So lipids that are found in biological membranes are amphipathic. Okay, so let's move on to the next question, that is question number 10. So a poikilothermic organism living in the Arctic would have, compared to that of organism living in the temperature climate zone, a plasma membrane richer in: option A, cholesterol; option B, long chain fatty acid; option C, protein; or option D, unsaturated fatty acid. So the right one is option D, that is unsaturated fatty acid will be higher or richer in poikilothermic organism living in the Arctic environment. Okay, so let's move on to the another question, that is question number 11. So in plasma membrane, carbohydrate is present on the: option A, both layers of the lipid; option B, only on cytoplasmic side of the lipid bilayer; option C, only on non-cytoplasmic side of the lipid bilayer; or option D, none of the above. And the right one is option C, that is only on non-cytoplasmic side of lipid bilayer. So in plasma membrane, carbohydrate is present on the only on non-cytoplasmic side of the lipid bilayer. So let's move on to the next question, that is question number 12. So here, so which of the following statement is true? And the options are: option A, membrane consists of only cholesterol and proteins; option B, all membrane proteins are glycoproteins; option C, phospholipids are proteins are the main components of biological membranes; or option D, all membranes have the same lipid to protein ratio. And the right answer is option C, that is phospholipids and proteins are the main components of biological membranes. So this is the only true statement, okay, among this all statements. Okay, so let's move on to the question number 13. That is, the following statement about biological membrane is correct, and options are: option A, they are symmetric bileaflet structure; option B, their constituent lipid and protein moieties are held together by covalent interaction; option C, they are rigid assemblies of protein, lipid and carbohydrates; or option D, their lipid moieties are amphipathic in nature. And the right answer is option D, that is, their lipid moieties are amphipathic in nature. So the following among the following statement biological among the following statement about biological membrane, which one is the correct one? The option D is the correct one, that is, their lipid moieties are amphipathic in nature. So next question देखेंगे. Next is question number 14. A protein which span the lipid bilayer, option A, cannot diffuse in the plane of the membrane; option B, cannot have any attachment to cytoplasmic components; or option C, cannot have bound carbohydrate; or option D, as usually has both hydrophobic and hydrophilic regions. So the right one is option D, that is, as usually has both hydrophobic and hydrophilic regions. So a protein which spans the lipid bilayer as usually has both hydrophobic and hydrophilic regions. Okay. So next question देखेंगे. Next is, which statement is false? And option A, phospholipids, glycolipids and sphingomyelin are the amphipathic lipid found in natural membrane. Option B, sterols are found in membranes of animal cells but not in the membranes of plant cells. Option C, many membrane components are amphipathic. Or option D, that is, integral proteins in natural membrane may span the whole membrane or may be anchored to the membrane by lipid anchor. So the right answer is option B, that is, sterol are found in membranes of animal cells but not in the membrane of plant cells. So this is the false statement. Okay, so among these four statement, this option B is the false statement. Okay, so let's move on to the question number 16. That is, which of the following is correct statement in animal? And options are: option A, concentration of sodium is high inside the cell than outside; or option B, concentration of calcium is high inside the cell than outside; or option C, concentration of potassium is high inside the cell than the outside; or option D, concentration of magnesium is high inside the cell than outside. So the right one about this statement is option C, that is, concentration of potassium is high inside the cell than outside. That is the right statement or correct statement in animal. Okay, next question देखेंगे. Question number 17. So liposome is option A, closed solvent filled vehicle which have a single bilayer of fatty acid chain; or option B, closed solvent filled vehicle which have a single layer of fatty acid chain; or option C, that is, a structure made up of protein; or option D, that is, both A and C. And the right answer is option A, that is, a closed solvent filled vehicle which have a single bilayer of fatty acid chain. Okay, so next question देखेंगे. Next is question number 18. So which of the following is a function of plasma membrane? And options are: option A, structural barrier and cell communication; option B, metabolic activities and cell adhesion; option C, mass flow regulation, active transport, diffusion and endocytosis and exocytosis; or option D, all of the above. So which one is the function of plasma membrane? And our answer is option D, that is all of the above. All of these are functions of plasma membranes. Okay, let's move on to the question number 19. That is, which of the following statement about biological membrane is not true? And the options are option A, they contain carbohydrates that are covalently bound to proteins and lipids, or option B, they are large sheet-like structure with closed boundaries, or option C, they are symmetric because of the symmetric nature of lipid bilayer, or option D, they contain specific protein that mediate their distinctive functions. So which one is not true about the biological membrane is option C. That is, they are symmetric because of the symmetric nature of the lipid bilayer, but it is not true because lipid bilayer is asymmetric. Okay. So the last question of this video, it is, generally accepted features of biological membrane include all of the following except option A, asymmetric arrangement of lipids, option B, rapid diffusion of inorganic ions across lipid bilayer, option C, lateral diffusion of lipids, or option D, lateral diffusion of integral and peripheral proteins. And the right one is option B, that is rapid diffusion of inorganic ions across lipid bilayers. So generally accepted features of biological membrane include all of the following except this one, that is rapid diffusion of inorganic ions across lipid bilayer is not correct. Okay, so these are all 20 questions on cell biology, and this is the part 1 of this series of videos. Okay, so thank you for watching this video.